It's one of the things I love about you.
Aw.
And Keshia has no problem calling you out.
On July 20th, 2025, Hollywood was shaken. Malcolm Jamal Warner, the big brother of The Cosby Show, died suddenly at just 55. Colleagues broke down in tears. The press exploded. The world mourned. But amid the tears and condolences, one person was missing: Keshia Knight Pulliam. The little Rudy of years past, Malcolm's on-screen sister and his close friend for 4 decades. Not a word. Not a photo. Not a single sign that she was grieving. Her silence was heavy as stone, and whispers began to spread. Was there a rift between them, or a secret being hidden? Then exactly 7 days later, Keshia finally spoke. Not with a long statement, but with a video so brief it was chilling. The question remains. During those 7 days of silence, what did Keshia hold back? And why was one short message enough to make the whole world choke up? Let's rewind to 1984. America was just emerging from the turbulence of the 70s, and television was searching for something new. Then The Cosby Show arrived, bringing with it something the world had never seen before. A middle-class black family, warm, funny, relatable. Inside the Huxtable home, 2 faces became etched into the memory of millions. Theo, 14 years old, with a mischievous smile but eyes that always carried sensitivity. And Rudy, just 5, tiny and innocent, yet shockingly smart and quick. Every frown, every witty comeback from Rudy became a kind of meme of the 80s long before the internet existed. The magic was that side by side, these two created a portrait of brother and sister so familiar it felt like home. American audiences looked at them and exclaimed, "That's us. That's my brother and sister." It's no wonder that through nearly a decade on air, Theo and Rudy became America's national siblings. They weren't just TV characters. They were mirrors reflecting a piece of childhood for millions. And slowly, that brother-sister bond on screen grew into real friendship, even family off-screen. Years later, when the lights of The Cosby Show dimmed, when scandals and upheavals pushed many of the cast in different directions, that bond remained. And that is why Warner's death in 2025 wasn't just sad news. It was a wound that cut straight into Keshia's heart. A friendship. Spanning 40 years, milestones of connection. After 1992, The Cosby Show came to a close. For many child actors, that would have been the end of the road. But for Malcolm and Keshia, it was the beginning of a new chapter in their friendship. They no longer shared a set, but the phone calls continued, the visits, the support through the hardest seasons of life. When Malcolm struggled to find his place in the entertainment industry, Keshia was still the little sister reminding him that true worth comes from perseverance. And when Keshia faced the heartbreak of a failed marriage, Malcolm was the one to comfort her, to remind her of her inner strength. One moment that moved fans to tears came in June 2025, just a month before the tragedy. Malcolm invited Keshia to join his own podcast, Not All Hood NAH. Looking back now, that conversation feels like an unintentional farewell. Malcolm sat before the mic, his voice dropping low. "She is more than my friend. She is family." It wasn't a cliche. It was the truth of 4 decades together, from a little girl just learning her first scripts to the 46-year-old woman she is today. Keshia answered, her eyes sparkling with promise. "He's stuck with me for life." The studio erupted in laughter, but beneath that laughter was something unshakable, a bond that fame, scandal, and time could never break. The podcast also revealed a detail that touched the audience even more. Their bond had carried into the next generation. Warner's daughter and Pulliam's daughter were born just 3 months apart. The 2 little girls became inseparable, often playing together. Pulliam once shared, "Our daughters adore each other." That link meant their friendship didn't end with childhood memories. It was renewed and carried forward through their children. 2 small girls holding hands, playing just as their parents once had on The Cosby Show. A perfect circle of past and present. No one knew that what seemed like a simple reunion would become Malcolm's final gift to his little sister. Just 1 month after that laughter-filled podcast, a morning in Costa Rica would turn it all into memory and open a tragedy that left the world speechless. Costa Rica, tragedy. The final moment, July 20th, 2025. Around 4:20 p.m. Playa Hermosa, the jewel of Costa Rica, rang with laughter. Malcolm Jamal Warner, his wife and their young daughter stepped onto the white sand, basking in the golden afternoon sun. He looked strong, full of life. Only hours earlier, Warner had posted a radiant photo on Instagram with a short caption, "Paradise found." No one could have guessed that paradise would soon turn into a nightmare. Warner loved the ocean, loved to test his endurance. After playing with his daughter at the shoreline, he decided to swim about 40 meters out. The sea looked calm. But beneath that calmness waited an invisible killer, the rip current, a forceful undercurrent that can sweep away anyone in its path. 4:35 p.m. A powerful wave struck, dragging Warner under. Witnesses say he raised his hands, struggled, tried to cry for help, but the roar of the waves swallowed every sound. From a distance, his wife screamed. His little girl burst into tears, too young to understand what was happening. It all unfolded in seconds. 2 American tourists dove into the water while a lifeguard leapt from shore. The vicious current pulled Warner farther out. With each second, each minute, his chances of survival slipped away. 4:40 p.m. After a desperate struggle, they pulled Warner ashore, but the sight froze everyone. His body limp, lips, blue eyes closed. He wasn't breathing. A German doctor vacationing nearby rushed forward. Kneeling in the sand, he began chest compressions and mouth-to-mouth. 1, 2, 3. The urgent count echoed through the circle of onlookers holding their breath. Rescuers brought oxygen tanks and a defibrillator. The waves kept crashing as if mocking the despair on the beach. 4:50 p.m., still no pulse. The doctor refused to stop. Sweat poured down his forehead as his hands pressed against Warner's chest again and again. 5:05 p.m. The defibrillator pads were placed on his chest. The screen delivered its cold verdict. No shock advised. Around them, some prayed in whispers. Others broke down in tears. 5:15 p.m. 35 minutes had passed. Warner lay motionless. His wife's cries tore through the air. Rescuers took turns relentless in chest compressions and artificial respiration. But his silence spoke louder than any effort. 5:25 p.m. After 45 minutes of battling death, the doctor stopped. He pulled off his gloves, his breath ragged, and in a hoarse voice declared, "Time of death, 5:25 p.m." In that moment, the busy beach fell silent. Warner's wife collapsed, crying out beside her husband's body. His little daughter was led away, eyes wide with panic, too young to grasp that she had just lost her father. A circle of onlookers stood frozen, helpless witnesses to a cruel fate. Costa Rican health authorities quickly issued a statement. The cause of death was asphyxiation due to drowning. No signs of foul play, just an accident, a fateful accident that took his life at 54. The news reached the United States that very evening. At 10 p.m. local time, the Associated Press released the first report confirming actor Malcolm Jamal Warner has died in Costa Rica at age 54 after drowning. Within minutes, social media erupted. Millions shared the story, reeling in shock and grief. What made the tragedy even more haunting was the bitter irony of fate. That very morning, Warner had posted a smiling photo with his daughter on the sand, captioned simply, "Paradise Found." Just hours later, that so-called paradise became the place of his final breath. For Keshia Knight Pulliam, the shock was unbearable. Her life had been tied to Warner's since childhood, a friendship nearly 40 years long severed in one afternoon. The Costa Rica tragedy ended the life of a talented artist, a husband, a father. It was a grim reminder that even in paradise, death can strike with a single wave. Costa Rica closed with a cold death announcement. But its echoes didn't stop there. As Hollywood wept as friends and colleagues offered their farewells, the public's eyes turned to one person, Keshia Knight Pulliam. And it was her silence in the midst of the world's mourning that stirred another storm before the first had even settled. A week of silence. Then, an outpouring. 7 days. In the world of social media, 7 days of silence feels like a lifetime. Hour after hour, thousands of comments appeared. Where is Keshia? Why hasn't she spoken? Was there something between her and Malcolm? Instead of being seen as a natural response to grief, Keshia Knight. Pulliam's silence became the center of speculation. While Hollywood spoke out, her absence felt like a void no one could ignore. And as that void stretched into the 7th day, it swelled into a storm of rumors. Then on July 27, 2025, Keshia finally broke her silence. Not with a press conference, not with a long speech, just an Instagram post, yet it was enough to stop millions of hearts. The video opened with a short clip. The first image, Malcolm Jamal Warner on stage at City Winery in Atlanta, holding his bass, pouring emotion into every note. The music carried viewers back to a beautiful memory, Malcolm alive, vibrant, full of talent. Then the scene shifted, 2 little girls hand in hand leading a horse across a pasture. No caption was needed. The audience understood these were their daughters, the new Rudies. A silent message. This friendship never ended. It lives on through us. The bond between the two actors now continued in the friendship of their children, extending not just into memory but into the future. This was the emotional climax Keshia wanted to deliver. We still have each other through our girls. And the words she wrote beneath the video deepened the meaning. A week ago I lost my big brother, but I gained an angel. I love you. I miss you. We got our girls. Just a few short sentences, but the aftershock was stronger than any article. Big brother. Angel. We got our girls. 3 fragments that captured a 40-year friendship, an immeasurable loss, and a promise to carry the bond forward through the next generation. When the big brother became an angel, the little sister remained with the children to keep that thread alive. Not an ending, but a handover. Keshia also added a message on Instagram story. Thank you for every text call and all of the love that you have sent my way. I've just needed a moment. A sincere confession, her silence wasn't indifference. It was the time she needed to breathe to steady herself after the shock. And within minutes, Hollywood erupted. Comments poured in beneath her post. This is the most beautiful tribute I've ever seen. Now I understand why she needed a week of silence. That video made me cry. It was so real, so raw. The media covered it, but not in the usual scandal-driven tone. Cinema Blend emphasized that Pulliam had broken her silence to share her grief and her need for quiet. Entertainment Weekly highlighted her phrase gained an angel, showing how pain had been turned into spiritual comfort. People explored the deep friendship between the two families, while the Los Angeles Times placed her words in a broader frame, the fragility of life and the enduring value of brotherhood. On social media, thousands reshared the post, calling it the most touching tribute to Warner. The power of that tribute lay in its honesty. No embellishment, no justification. Just raw pain and love for the big brother who had become an angel. The clip of the 2 little girls leading a horse only deepened the impact. Their friendship hadn't died, it had been passed on to the next generation to continue walking side by side. It was also the definitive answer to every rumor. Silence wasn't proof of conflict, nor a hidden secret. It was simply how a woman coped with loss when words weren't enough. And when she was ready, what she shared wasn't just a goodbye, but a legacy of friendship. Keshia's tribute turned a week of silence into a moment for the ages. People no longer remembered the doubt that filled those 7 days. They remembered only the moment she finally spoke and the way the whole world went silent with her. Yet even amid those beautiful memories, a darker thread lingered, one the public couldn't stop pulling at. Because sometimes silence is not only pain in the eyes of the crowd, it becomes fertile ground for rumors. And Keshia Knight Pulliam, whether by choice or by chance, found herself at the center of a storm of whispers. Rumors, truth, and hype. When Malcolm Jamal Warner died, Hollywood spoke out, but Keshia Knight Pulliam remained silent for a week. That silence transformed her in the eyes of the public from the closest little sister into the biggest mystery. On social media, theories multiplied. Some believed her grief was simply too deep to put into words. But others speculated, was there something wrong between them? Tabloids splashed headlines like Keshia and Malcolm friendship broken before goodbye without a shred of evidence. Fan forums exploded with debate. One side defended Keshia, insisting she deserved space to heal, that a 40-year friendship could not be reduced to a rushed post. The other side inflated her silence into proof of hidden tension. Hollywood is unforgiving. Any gap in information is quickly filled with rumors. Keshia's 7-day silence became fuel for the collective imagination. And soon, her private grief was twisted into dark secrets. But when Keshia finally broke her silence with her tribute, the truth was clear. There was no rift, no scandal, no hidden secret. Only a woman so heartbroken she needed time to breathe before she was strong enough to say goodbye. Her short line, "A week ago I lost my big brother, but I gained an angel," was the definitive answer to it all. Not a denial, but living proof that their bond was beyond question. And here lies the paradox: it was the rumors themselves that made her tribute land with such force. From suspicion to truth, her silence suddenly revealed itself not as coldness, but as unbearable grief. When that post finally appeared, it didn't just break the hearts of fans, it ignited an even greater wave of emotion across Hollywood. The industry, already grieving, erupted once more in collective sorrow. Hollywood's response, a wave of grief. The death of Malcolm Jamal Warner had already shaken the entertainment world, But when Keshia Knight Pulliam finally spoke, the pain seemed to double. Her post turned private grief into a collective cry, and one by one Hollywood stars poured out their hearts. Raven Simony, once the youngest sister Olivia on The Cosby Show, choked up on live television. He was my brother, my support. His smile will forever stay with me, bright, radiant, never fading. Jeffrey Owens, who had shared the set with Warner, wrote a short but haunting line. This tragedy has left me almost speechless. Malcolm was such a sweet, sensitive soul. I can't believe he's gone. Other big names followed. Angela Bassett called Warner a man who lit up our generation with kindness. Viola Davis wrote that he proved talent can walk hand in hand with character. Tracy Ellis Ross shared an old behind-the-scenes photo captioned, "Thank you for being part of our memories." And Beyoncé went further, dedicating a segment of her concert to him as tens of thousands of fans raised their phone lights in unison, turning the stadium into a sea of stars. Even Bill Cosby, despite his own disgrace, could not remain silent. He called Malcolm the most talented son I ever watched grow up before my eyes. Though the public was divided on his words, it showed how deeply Warner was etched into the hearts of those who worked with him. On social media, the mourning became a massive online memorial. Hashtags like #RIP Malcolm Jamal Warner, #Theo Huxtable Forever, and #We Got Our Girls trended worldwide. Clips of Warner holding little Rudy scenes of his boyish grin on the sitcom footage of him playing music all flooded the timelines. The pain was no longer personal. It became the shared memory of a generation. Critics also weighed in. Many wrote Warner's death reveals a truth Hollywood may be cold, but when someone like Malcolm is lost, the industry bows its head. What made this wave of grief even stronger was Keshia's role in it. Her week of silence, followed by an iconic symbolic video, became the focal point, forcing the world to pay attention. People weren't just mourning Malcolm, they were watching Keshia endure her loss. Her grief became a voice for millions. Hollywood, a place infamous for its coldness and scandals, rarely sees unity like this. But in Malcolm Jamal Warner's death, and in Keshia Knight Pulliam's tribute, something rare emerged. Something simple, something sincere, something powerful enough to move the world. The relationship between little Rudy and big brother Theo on The Cosby Show had long since surpassed the screen. They grew up together under the studio lights, keeping their friendship for nearly 4 decades. So close, in fact, that the public became convinced of one thing: there were secrets they would never tell. Secrets surrounding the relationship between Keshia Knight Pulliam and Malcolm Jamal Warner. Dating rumors, sibling love, or hidden romance. From the earliest seasons of The Cosby Show, audiences noticed a special chemistry between Pulliam and Warner. The playful glances on screen, the smiles off screen, the way they joked together at reunions years later. It all made fans wonder, was it really just brother and sister? The truth is, Warner was publicly in love with Michelle Thomas, who played Justine Phillips, Theo's girlfriend on the show, while Pulliam had her own relationships, eventually marrying and divorcing before remarrying Brad James. Still, fan forums never stopped speculating. Some believed Pulliam and Warner had once shared a secret romance, but chose silence, afraid of damaging the Huxtable family image. When the Bill Cosby scandal erupted. What were they hiding? In 2014, Hollywood was shaken to its core. Bill Cosby, once celebrated across America as America's dad, fell in disgrace. A name tied to childhood memories suddenly became a stain, and all eyes turned to The Cosby Show cast. The public expected criticism, strong words, fiery statements from his TV children. But what they got instead was silence. Malcolm Jamal Warner and Keshia Knight Pulliam both chose not to speak. Warner avoided the press. Pulliam, when pressed, said only one brief line: "I will not let my childhood memories be overshadowed by this scandal." No elaboration, no defense. The door slammed shut, and it was that silence that stirred even more speculation. What were they hiding? Loyalty, helplessness? Or perhaps an unspoken pact: if we can't protect each other with words, then we'll protect each other with silence. From that moment, many believed Warner and Pulliam had a private agreement, an ally's secret, a bond only they understood. A vow to keep their childhood memories and their 4-decade friendship untouched by the sins of others. An unfinished promise. The reunion. That never came. In his later years, Warner often hinted in interviews, "One day, we'll reunite." Just a single line, but enough to send fans into a frenzy of hope. They imagined a new sitcom, a commemorative series, or at the very least a stage where Theo and Rudy would once again stand side by side, holding hands and laughing like before. But that dream will remain unfinished forever. No script, no contract, no official project. Only fragments of words teasing hints that left fans both longing and aching. Then Costa Rica came and ended it all. The promise of reunion was buried with Warner beneath the sea. For Pulliam, and in the eyes of many, it wasn't just the loss of a brother. It was the loss of their final chance to finish the story they began together. That was the deepest cut not just for her, but for an entire generation that grew up with The Cosby Show. A promise left unfulfilled, now locked away in memory forever. The rumors surrounding her relationship with Malcolm Jamal Warner may always remain a fog. But Keshia's own life away from the cameras has been stormy enough to capture the public's curiosity. Behind the image of the innocent little Rudy is now a woman who has endured heartbreak, risen from loss, and rebuilt her life with resilience. Keshia Knight Pulliam. Behind the secrets lies a stormy life. Keshia is no longer the 5-year-old sitcom star who earned a fortune on screen. After The Cosby Show, she went on to star in Tyler Perry's House of Pain, where at its peak, she earned as much as $20,000 per episode. Along with film and television projects, plus appearances on reality shows like Celebrity Apprentice and Celebrity Big Brother, her net worth today is estimated between $2 and $6 million. Remarkably, Pulliam has not chosen to live entirely on her past. She's ventured into producing, appeared on various TV programs, and expanded into the entertainment business. Now in her 40s, Keshia has proven that childhood stardom can be a springboard, not a shadow. But money and career are only part of the story. It's in her personal life that the public sees her true strength. In 2016, she unexpectedly married former NFL player Edgerton Hartwell. Just a week after the wedding, she announced her pregnancy. But the joy was short-lived. The marriage collapsed. By 2017, when her daughter Ella Grace was born, Keshia was forced into a custody battle. The divorce was finalized in 2018, leaving behind pain, but also opening a new path, the path of a single mother. Keshia has often shared that Ella became her greatest motivation to keep moving forward every morning. When I wake up and see her smile, I know I cannot fall apart. Finding happiness. Again, after heartbreak. Keshia found peace with actor Brad James, her co-star in Pride and Prejudice Atlanta 2019. Their relationship grew naturally, and in 2021, the two quietly held a small, intimate wedding at their home in Atlanta. No media spotlight, no spectacle, just family and close friends. From that moment, Keshia's image shifted. No longer the woman weathering storms alone, she became a mature partner standing beside a man who cherished and supported her. The couple welcomed their son Knight in April 2023, and together with Keshia's daughter Ella, they built a small home on a peaceful farm, raising chickens, goats, and living slowly in nature. Life today. Today, Pulliam works both as an actress and producer alongside Brad James at their company Jamestown Filmworks. They are developing several projects, including a series titled The Script. At the same time, she continues to choose selective roles to return to the screen, most recently, the thriller Wife Stalker, which premiered on Lifetime in 2025. Beyond work, Keshia shows herself to be a devoted mother. On social media, she often shares everyday moments, baking with Ella, gardening with Brad, or playing with little Knight in the yard. A simple life full of love, far removed from the glitter of Hollywood. A symbol of resilience. From America's little Rudy to a grown woman surviving a broken marriage, then finding love and peace with her family. Keshia Knight Pulliam's journey stands as proof of enduring strength. And through it all, she will forever carry in her heart the image of her beloved brother Theo. Timeless meaning, friendship, memory, and legacy. Malcolm Jamal Warner is gone. A week of silence has passed for Keshia. But the story doesn't end there. They were siblings on screen. They were best friends in real life. And now, with one gone, the bond remains unbroken. It carries on through music, through memories, through children walking hand in hand. That was Keshia's final message. True friendship never dies. It only transforms from one person's breath into the life of the next generation. And we, the viewers who grew up with The Cosby Show, are also part of that legacy. Every laugh, every memory proves that Warner never truly disappeared. But memories, if not recalled, fade. And legacies, if not passed on, quietly vanish. If this story has brought you to tears, If you believe that 40 years of friendship deserve to be remembered by the world, then please like and share, so that not only you, but millions of others can keep this memory burning bright. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the most powerful stories ahead. Malcolm Jamal Warner's journey ended in silence, but through our sharing, his memory and their immortal friendship will live forever.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast. There is still so much more to explore: stories of resilience, legacy, and truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now appearing on your screen.